Hello everybody, welcome to this video about the astrology of the week beginning Monday the 15th of December until Sunday the 21st of December. During that week we have got a few aspects that are not the easiest. We have got a new moon on the 19th and 20th, and that is a new moon in Sagittarius. Here it is in the calendar, the lunar month of Sagittarius, starting from in New Zealand and Australia. It starts from Saturday the 20th of December, other parts of the world the 19th, and straight after that new moon we go into the solstice. That is the southern hemisphere summer solstice, if you are in the southern parts of the world where the sun is right in our zone, and it's a peak point, a culmination point in the solar year. If you are in the northern hemisphere, you're coming to the end point, your final few days of this solar year, and then the sun will be as far away as it can get from you, and then it's going to come back and you have your winter solstice. Okay, so my name is Fiona of Sun and Moon Calendars. I'm waving this around. I make calendars like this one for Australia and New Zealand, maybe one day for other parts of the world. It's available in digital form or in print form, and you can order from sunandmooncalendar.com. In this video, I'm going to go through this stage of the lunar month that we're at, the aspects and transits that are happening between the planets one by one, and then with a focus on the new moon in the sign of Sagittarius. It's a new moon that brings us some work to do and some intuition or flow, intuition to allow or flow to allow. And we need to balance that with the needs of the new moon in Sagittarius, which is about being optimistic, being adaptable, thinking big, and not worrying too much about the details. It's square to Saturn, we need to work hard, and it's square to Neptune. We need to allow for some flow, maybe some healing, maybe some intuition, and some dreaming and envisioning. So I'll get into that later in the video. First of all, we're going to look at the final stage of that lunar month that we're at and go through the aspects that are happening this week. Later on in the video, I will go through sign by sign about that new moon in Sagittarius. And you can look at the timestamps to find this place. Okay, here we go. Okay, and looking at the moon phase that we're in, we had that big full moon. That was a hard one with the full moon square to the lunar nodes. That was on the 4th or the 5th of December. And then we had last week on the 11th and 12th of December, moon square sun, looking like a half moon in the sky, the last quarter moon. And coming up this week, Friday the 19th of December in LA, New York, but in London it's on the 20th, in Australia and New Zealand it's on the 20th, the new moon in the sign of Sagittarius. So I'll be talking about that and analyzing the chart and doing an all signs breakdown on that new moon later in the video. This week's aspects and transits. Okay, on Sunday the 14th or Monday the 15th, depending on where you are in the world, Mars is in a square to Neptune, and that is following a square to Saturn that Mars made last week. This is not an easy energy. Mars is all about action and driving forwards, and it's about earthly reality. It likes to do things on earth that have a physical presence, a physical manifestation, a physical result. Neptune is watery, confused, mystical, vague. You almost can't grasp Neptune in a lot of ways. So it could be like Mars is wanting to drive forward, Neptune is making Mars wonder, oh, where am I going? What am I driving towards? So, and there could be a need to allow some intuition or to allow a bit of flow and something to work through there, and maybe some illusions to dispel before you take the action. So try and work through that, because a square can bring good results, like if we do the work that's needed. So try to move forward with clarity if you can. Okay, all right. And then on Sunday and Monday, 14th and 15th of December, we also have Mars moving into the sign of Capricorn. It's exalted there. It can work in a strategic way, work hard and drive forward steadily with long-term goals, and in ways that are about bringing results in the world, and Capricorn is good at that. So that's going to be until 23rd of January. Okay, all right. On the 17th of December, or the 16th, depending where you are in the world, the Tuesday or the Wednesday, the Sun comes up to the square with Saturn, and later it will be in square with Neptune, because Saturn and Neptune are very close together, coming up for their big conjunction in February. Okay, so over the last month or so, we had the pleasure and the ease, the relative ease of these planets like the Sun and Mercury and Mars and Venus being in trine to Saturn and Neptune. But now they're in square aspect, one by one. They'll be having these squares with Saturn and Neptune. So it's much less easy. It can mean that there are blocks to work through, especially where Saturn is involved. Saturn can be about restrictions and boundaries and pesky rules that get in the way. The Sun wants to shine and create and enjoy. The Sun can be quite playful and very creative and expressive, and it's full of vitality and energy. But Saturn is the opposite. It's the cold, distant organizer. So whatever the block is, we need to work through it. Usually with Saturn, it'll be about accepting the restrictions and working within those boundaries and being prepared to work hard for the future. Okay, so after that, on Friday the 19th or Saturday the 20th, we have the new moon in Sagittarius, which I'll be talking about later in the video. But I will say at this stage that when we have a new moon, it's a good time to take some time out to step out of life, in terms of we're still doing all of life, of course, but if we have a few days of thinking about what are our goals, where are we at, what ideas, thoughts, maybe ideas for new projects and things, what could bubble up in the world, bubble up from within you. And especially as this new moon is followed by the solstice, which is also a time of stillness as the Sun comes to its furthest southernmost point, and it stands still in the sky for 3 days, and this new moon is part of that. Really good time to take some time out. I know I'm always saying this. I said it for the Neptune changing direction as well. Some time out for reflection, review, allowing things to bubble up from within, allowing messages to come in from without. Okay, some meditative time. Okay, and once you see the crescent moon in the sky, and it's a few days after the new moon, you can take some action to plant a new seed, and especially in that area of your chart where the new moon falls. This is a little bit different, of course, because we have the solstice, and usually, of course, always after solstice we have Christmas, and most people are doing stuff with Christmas. Christmas tends to be a time where we're stopping. It's no accident that Christmas is with the solstice just a few days afterwards. So whatever you're planting, whatever seed you're planting, whatever project you're starting after this new moon, it's okay to wait until after Christmas for that. And that's probably a natural flow. Okay. And then we have another of those squares, the Sun square to Neptune. With this square, try to avoid being unrealistic in your self-expression, your leadership, wherever you are shining in the world, and with your vitality and energy. Try and allow a little bit of clarity and not operating under illusions that you are more wonderful than you really are at whatever this creative thing is that you want to lead people into or put it out into the world. And avoid being vague and too confusing where you can. Try and be clear, but then also allow some time for flow and big visions and intuition, or maybe some healing and compassion. All right. And this aspect is tying in with that new moon, so I'll be talking about it later in the video. All right, there's so much happening on the 20th and 21st. We also have Venus coming into a square with Saturn. This might mean we need to accept some restrictions and boundaries in terms of our relationships or our finances or any kind of partnership, contracts, arrangements with others. Saturn might expect us to be more realistic, to work harder and to work within boundaries. Okay, all tied in with that new moon. Okay, and then we have Jupiter square Chiron. This is a subject of a video that I've did with Ksenia a couple of weeks ago, so that's on her channel. I've mentioned it a couple of times in my videos recently. Ksenia and I go into real depth with this. I will say that in my calendars, until now, I have only included conjunctions with Chiron, but because there's just not space, you know, there's so much in the calendar. Like if you look at, say, the month of Gemini there, how many aspects and transits there are in that month without including all the aspects to Chiron. But from the 2026 calendar, I have included Jupiter and its aspects to Chiron, because I realized, you know, Jupiter is not making aspects to Chiron very often. It's a slow moving planet. So from now on, I'm going to include the slow moving aspects to Chiron. And this Jupiter Chiron square at the time of that solstice might be bringing us to recognize and hopefully be able to apply some healing. Sorry, just put that back. To apply some healing, to bring out some empathy, some compassion where we need to, where there's an inner wound that comes out, some old feeling of rejection or some illness or injury that's been plaguing us for a very long time. Chiron is a wounded healer that cannot be easily healed. Okay, Jupiter in a square aspect, it might be expanding and helping us notice that wound coming up right at Christmas. So not very easy, but there's lots of advice in the video with Ksenia and a sign by sign breakdown. Okay, and then we've got the summer solstice. The sun enters Capricorn. That is the point of the solstice where the sun goes into 0 degrees of Capricorn. And in New Zealand, it's summertime. We will see bottle brushes like this, and Australia, you'll see them. In New Zealand, we have the pohutukawa trees. In the northern hemisphere, you guys will be all cold, and I hope you have some lovely comforting things like hot chocolates and mulled wine and nice warm fires and cozy activities like playing some board games and doing some wintry stuff to enjoy. So there we go, everyone. Those are the aspects and transits that are happening a whole lot around the 21st of December, 19th, and then going to the 22nd, different parts of the world. Lots of energy there with the solstice. But now I'm going to talk about that new moon in Sagittarius, which comes just before the solstice and all those things happening. So now I'm going to talk about that new moon in Sagittarius, and first I will mention that at new moon time, remember, it's a time to take a few days out, especially with the solstice at the same time, and see what bubbles up about what seed you want to plant. What have I got on the next one? Yeah, there we go. Those are the times, the exact times of the new moon there. Sagittarius is a sign of optimism, of expansion, and it's known as a lucky sign, and it's partly because the confidence and the enthusiasm of Sagittarius invites lucky opportunities and lucky breaks. It's a sign of expansion, exploration, going this way to explore some great new distant horizon, going that way to explore some kind of learning concept. Sagittarius seeks meaning. Wherever you have Sagittarius in your chart, that is an area where you want there to be meaning, and you will be seeking meaning, and you will be prepared to change that area of life, change it up, because it's a mutable sign, it's adaptable, it's always wanting to explore, whether that is geographically and actually go traveling, or to explore areas of higher learning, philosophies of life, belief systems, religion. Anyway, Sagittarius is an awesome sign and we've got a new moon in this sign. So let's look at the moon chart. Okay, so you can see there the sun and the moon together right at the final, almost the final degree, at 28 degrees 24 minutes of Sagittarius. So a very culminating point there, as we've had so many new moons at those late degrees. In the same sign is Venus. Okay, so there's Venus at 24 degrees. It's almost conjunct. It's catching up with the sun, and there's going to be a Venus-Sun conjunction in January, but it is a superior conjunction. So Venus is on the other side of the sun from us, and Venus is invisible. And you might be finding that loving moments and pleasurable times are not as easy to access at the moment, and that's partly because Venus is invisible at the moment. Okay, Mercury is also in that sign, but quite far away. Mars is almost conjunct as well. You can see Mars just at 3 degrees of Capricorn. It's new sign. It's an out of sign conjunction, also out of sight, invisible. The sun will be shining its rays with its great energy and brightness that it always does, and we cannot see the moon, we can't see Venus, and we can't see Mars at the moment because the sun's just outshining everything. However, with the conjunctions with those, it is a time where we're sort of thinking about, what do I want for my relationships? Let me consult the king of the zodiac, the sun. That's the Venus. What do I want for my feelings and my home and my relationship with my mother and how I think about the world? How do I respond to the world? That's the moon conjunct the sun with any new moon. And with Mars, how do I want to drive forward in life with my creative projects and the ways that I lead in the world? And that is Mars conjunct the sun. We've already had Mars had its conjunction. The sun is coming up to a conjunction with Mars. I'm not sure of the date of that, but there's a lot of thinking about all aspects of life with this, because those personal planets, Mars and Venus and the moon, they are in charge of so much of normal life. So lots of thinking about, how's my life going? Okay, all right. The new moon, and this is probably the most, in some ways, the most important aspect of this new moon chart. The sun and moon are square to the upcoming conjunction of Saturn and Neptune. So Neptune is at 29 degrees, so only 1 degree out from the sun and moon in that square aspect. Saturn is a little bit behind at 25 degrees, but they're all playing in. Saturn and Neptune are going to be getting closer and closer as they build up to that 0 degrees of Aries conjunction in February. That's a big one. I'm going to be talking about that so much, and all astrologers are. And this moon square to those two is perhaps reminding us of something that we need to work on as we work towards that conjunction. The conjunction with Saturn and Neptune is going to be about how can we bring our biggest, most imaginative, vast, expansive, connecting to all of the universe dreams into concrete reality, where we work hard for long-term goals. Okay, so the wild, big dreams are Neptune, and Saturn is the concrete reality, the hard work and making things real and building towards the future. Okay, this is all to do with that conjunction, And the new moon is reminding us that there is something to work on and some tension around that. It's a square aspect, something that feels difficult, but we need to work through the block with that in the Sagittarius parts of our chart. Okay, so that's probably the most important aspect with this new moon. Okay, the moon's ruler in this case, Jupiter. Jupiter is the ruler of Sagittarius, and the new moon is in the sign of Sagittarius. Jupiter is exalted at the moment, very happy, flowing in the sign of Cancer. All right, Jupiter's happy in Cancer. Jupiter's about protection. Cancer is about protection. And Jupiter loves water signs, and Cancer is a water sign. Okay, so Jupiter's at 23 degrees 22 degrees and 49 minutes of Cancer, not quite in line with the moon, an aspect with the moon, actually at an inconjunct with the moon, but not very close inconjunct. It's an inconjunct with Venus. All right, so what Jupiter's doing with this moon is interesting. So let's have a look at that. Jupiter is in trine, actually, still with Saturn, and they'll be coming exact into their trine later next year. They're not going to come exact this year. And Jupiter's in a very, very loose trine with Neptune. We probably shouldn't count that one too much, but that Saturn-Jupiter trine, that is helping us build for the future. Jupiter is bringing opportunities and luck to Saturn's desire to work steadily at something over the long term, something that helps the world in a very solid and dependable way, and a traditional conservative way usually. Jupiter's helping that. So that's going to help out that square with the new moon to some degree. But Jupiter also has that square with Chiron coming up that I talked about, and it's in that video with Ksenia. So perhaps something comes up with that new moon, as I mentioned in the daily transits part of the video, some kind of wound, some kind of inner feeling of shame, rejection, that we don't belong, or an illness or an injury to our bodies that needs some healing work. Okay, so I encourage you, if you have an opportunity to do some healing work with that is through spiritual healing, meditation, journaling, any mental health support that you can do for yourself or get some help with, or even some physical healing work, whatever works for you, if you feel that would help you. Okay, all right. At the same time, Venus, I note, is in just coming out of a trine with Chiron, and so that also might help with the healing work, and maybe a woman could help you with some of the healing work, because Venus is about a feminine energy. Okay, and another aspect is Mercury, not making an aspect to any of the other planets, but it is making a square aspect to the lunar nodes. So Mercury in Sagittarius, and the North Node in Pisces, South Node in Virgo. So we had the full moon 2 weeks before, square to the lunar nodes, and if something happened for you then, you might know that it could be something ancestral, karmic, a message coming along that reminds you about where some kind of soul direction that you're going in life, or some kind of soul responsibility to let go of something from your past could come up at the time of the new moon or a little bit afterwards. Okay, and I'm going to just keep mentioning the mini-trine. It's between, it's such an important aspect, and it looks like just a little chintzy triangle there, but it's such an important aspect. This crazy formation with Pluto, Uranus, and Neptune, but also Saturn there. They are the slow outer planets. It's an incredible formation of sextiles and trines between them that's been affecting us this year. It will affect us next year and 2027, and the new moon is in aspect in terms of its square to the point. Let's see if I can get my mouse going here. So the point of the mini-trine is the Saturn-Neptune conjunction, and so this aspect that's going to be changing, well, the mini-trine is going to be changing so much in our lives, in the whole world, over the next few years. So there's something about this new moon that relates to that. Okay. So now I'm going to go through sign by sign. I'm going to talk about the new moon in Sagittarius, what house that is for your sign, and then the square with Saturn and Neptune in the sign of Pisces, and how that is playing out in your chart, what house it's in, and how that might provide some tension that drives you to action in the house that Sagittarius is in. Okay, so here we go. We're going to start with Sagittarius. If you are Sagittarius, sun, moon, or rising, the new moon on the 19th and 20th of December at 28 degrees of Sagittarius, that is a new moon in your first house. So when you have a new moon in your first house, it's a chance to think about everything to do with your life and your place in the world, your identity in the world. You're looking across to your house of partnerships, you are looking down to your foundations in your fourth house, and you're looking up to your career as well. You're looking at every part of your life from the first house. There might be something new to think about as you have those quiet days around the new moon and then the solstice. You could be thinking about, what do you want for your whole self and your whole life, and for your identity, the part that you play in the world, how you present yourself to the world, and even how the world sees you. All of this is up for a review, and there's opportunities to plant a new seed. You might be thinking about your body and what your body is like in the world. You've got Venus in your house, so you're kind of a little bit extra charming and attractive at the moment, even though Venus is invisible, so it's not getting the chance to really shine out as much as usual. And you've had Mars going through, helping you to feel more enthusiastic and probably to work hard, and Mercury is there as well. So there's a whole lot of energy and focus and stuff happening to do with you in your first house with this new moon. And then the new moon comes with a square from the sun and moon to the Saturn-Neptune conjunction in your fourth house. Your fourth house is about your family, your home, who you live with, your family of origin and properties that you own, and your ancestry even. So there could be something that comes from the fourth house that needs to be worked out with your new identity in the world. And in that fourth house with Saturn and Neptune conjunct there, or coming up to a conjunction that will actually be in your fifth house of romance and children next year. But for now, it's in your fourth house. And there's Saturn in there is asking you to work hard, build things for the long term in your home, in your family. And Neptune there is asking you to dream big, to dream expansively. But at the same time, there's this new moon in your first house, and maybe you are wanting to start something new for yourself, for your body, some new exercise regime, something new about the way you dress, or something new about the way you present yourself to the world. And maybe there's some friction between that and your family and your home, people you live with, okay? And you're asked to work through the blocks, try to work hard as Saturn asks, and also try to dream big, use intuition, and accept that sometimes healing is needed, okay? And working with flow, but still working hard, okay? So all the best, Sagittarius. Please like, comment, or subscribe if you like this video, and go to sunandmooncalendar.com to order your Aotearoa or your Australia Sun and Moon calendar for 2026. If you are Capricorn, Sun, Moon, or Rising, but especially Capricorn Rising, this new moon is in your 12th house, all right? So the 12th house is a house of What's going on inside you? What is hidden from the world about you? How are you connecting to spirit? How are you kind of forgetting about your body, leaving behind who you are in the world and retreating or escaping or just separating yourself from the rest of life? There's a new moon in that area. This could be about a new start in places that you go to for retreat. It could be a new start in creative pursuits that you do as a sanctuary or as a way of escaping from the world. It could even be sometimes over the top escapist practices. It can also be about hospitals, prisons, care homes, or foreign travel, places where you are away from the world, away from your normal life. Okay, there's some new beginning here. You have a new beginning, a new moon here every year, and this is your time this year, and it comes just before solstice. The 12th house is about taking time out away from everything. The new moon and the solstice also encourage that, so that's a good idea. Once the solstice comes, the sun moves into your first house. Mars by then will be in your first house, and there's a new start. This is a good reset time for you coming up, but right now it's your pause and wait it out time. Okay, at the same time, in your third house of your neighborhoods and communities, traveling around to and from work and traveling around your neighborhood, going to the shops, trade and exchange, social media, small businesses, learning at schools or doing workshops or teaching around the local community. There's some challenge coming from that area. You've got Saturn that's asking you to work hard and for the long term and to be disciplined. And Neptune that's asking kind of the opposite, asking you to flow and to go with intuition and to think big and have big visions, exciting visions for what you could have in the future in this third house. What do you dream of for your neighborhood, and what could you work at hard in your neighborhood or your learning and teaching? Also your thinking. The third house can also be about how you think, your logical thinking and your self-talk. So you're being asked at the same time to think big and to think in really practical and realistic ways. And this is bringing some challenge to whatever this new start is in your 12th house. It could be that you're wanting to do your meditation practice to escape from the world or watch TV, and something is happening in your third house. The third house is also about machinery and electronics. Maybe your TV is not working or your computer's not working. It could be that your neighbors are making too much noise and you can't do whatever your escape is, like going and sleeping, because the 12th house could also be about sleep and dreams, and it might be hard to do that because of noises in the neighborhood. It could be something like that. Whatever it is, it asks us to be prepared to work hard, maybe to face up to reality, and maybe there's a block with going to talk to your neighbors and you just have to overcome that as best you can. But also a bit of going with the flow, noticing intuitive thoughts that come to you, and looking to do healing work if that seems like there's an opportunity or a need to do that. And the 12th house is a big house for healing, all right? So there's an opportunity there. The 12th house is about, it can be about undoing some old patterns that we have within us, old behaviors and ways that we don't support ourselves. So if you have opportunities to heal any of those, take them up, Capricorn. All the best for the new moon. Please like, comment or subscribe if you like this video, and go to sunandmooncalendar.com to order your Aotearoa or your Australia 2026 Sun and Moon calendar. If you are Aquarius, Sun, Moon or Rising, but especially Aquarius Rising, the new moon in Sagittarius is in your 11th house. This is a house of long-term goals, and it's great to have Sagittarius here because Sagittarius likes to look out for long goals and explore things and find meaning, and goals can make life feel meaningful. And Aquarius, you are a natural 11th house kind of person. You like to think about important long-term goals that you work towards, and you gather together in groups to work towards these goals, and these goals are often for humanity, for humanitarian projects. You understand the 11th house. The 11th house can also be about gains you get from work, and as I was saying, groups of people that you connect with because you have something in common. This could be including friendship groups. Okay, so there's some kind of new start happening there, but there's a challenge from your second house. The second house has Saturn and Neptune in it. It's your house of resources, your earnings, your money, your sense of self-worth, your possessions, and things that you own. And perhaps you're finding that there's not enough money. You're feeling short of resources in terms of pursuing a long-term goal, or maybe you're finding that the gains from work are not working well enough for you, or there's something you want to do with some friendship groups, like pursue a humanitarian cause or support a humanitarian cause, but you don't really have the resources to do that the way that you would like. So with a square aspect, you need to work through the block and persevere. And Saturn in that second house of resources has been, since 2023, asking you to work hard for the long term, to restructure your finances, to be prepared to face up to practical reality with your finances. And at the same time, Neptune in that second house is asking you to think big, to have big visions, imaginative visions, to follow your intuition, go with the flow, and look to do healing where healing is needed, especially of your sense of self-worth, because that can affect our finances. Whatever's going on the inside affects us in the outer world, of course. So if you have an opportunity to do some healing, go for it, Aquarius. So all the best for that new moon. Plant a new seed in your 11th house of long-term goals, groups of friends, and even the gains that you get from work. Please like, comment, or subscribe if you like this video, and go to sunandmooncalendar.com to order your Aotearoa or your Australia copy of the 2026 calendar that is available in digital or print form. If you are Pisces, sun, moon, or rising, but especially Pisces rising, like myself, the new moon in the sign of Sagittarius is calling us to make a new start, something small but important perhaps in our career house. Perhaps a new opportunity comes along for a new direction in our career, or a new job that feels like it has a good sense of purpose about it. We are quite exploratory in our career, Pisces, and Sagittarius likes us to do different things and change things about, so we might welcome a change if it comes along. But at the same time, there's a challenge from ourselves. Okay, so Saturn and Neptune are square to the new moon, and they're in the house of us, yourself, Pisces, your body, your place in the world, your identity in the world, how you present yourself to the world, and how the world sees you. Okay, so and it could be that there's something where with Saturn you need to apply, or we need to apply, willingness to work hard, be more self-disciplined, be more realistic and practical with our careers. I don't know about you, but since Pisces has been in our sign since March 2023, I just feel like I've been working so hard anyway, but maybe there's some more hard work to do, and we will do it because that's what we need to do. But at the same time, with the last little while of Neptune in our house, also square to the moon, we, as well as working hard, being disciplined, being realistic and grounded, we also need to be prepared to be flowing, listening to the voice within, following our intuition, allowing the universe to bring new, exciting ideas to us, imaginative, expansive ideas, and thinking big in some ways about ourselves, about who we are in the world. Are we living small? Do we need to live more expansively? But also realistically. And all of this feeds into our career, of course, where that new moon is. If there's an opportunity to do some healing, do it, Pisces. Heal the self, heal the body if you can. I have a favorite therapist, that is Marcia Montgomery. She lives in Nelson, and I've booked in to go and see her next week. She does emotional release healing and body work and all sorts. If you have an opportunity to do that, do it. I think it'll be really good with this new moon. Okay, all the best, Pisces. Please like, comment, or subscribe if you like this video, and go to sunandmooncalendar.com to order your copy of the Aotearoa or the Australia calendar, either in digital or print form. If you are Aries, sun, moon, or rising, but especially Aries rising, there's a new moon in the sign of Sagittarius that is your 9th house of how you explore and seek and enjoy discussing and learning about the meaning of life, the search for meaning and the exploring and the travel and the higher educational pursuits and the philosophical discussions that you can have with that. It's a lucky house, the 9th house, and you've got Sagittarius, optimistic and enthusiastic in that house. And with the new moon, there could be some new beginning following the new moon, following the solstice, a new seed that is planted that could grow into something big and exciting and exploratory in the future, or something small but still a new start. All right. At the same time, that new moon is square to Saturn and Neptune in your 12th house, and the 12th house is Pisces. The 12th house is about, it's known as the house of your self undoing, Aries, and you've had Saturn and Neptune in there. Neptune since 2011, Saturn since March 2023. So there's been a lot of focus on, for you, Aries, things coming to an end, old ways of life that just might feel like they're dissipating, dissolving before your very eyes, and you might be trying to relax and dream and sleep, but things are hard with Saturn there. All right. But definitely endings coming up for you, and maybe some areas where you need to do some healing. And the 12th house can be the house of self-undoing. It can involve addictions or overly escapist practices. So do you need to face up to some of those? This new moon, with the connections to Chiron from Jupiter and from Venus, could encourage some healing work. And any focus in the 12th house it's good to do some healing work around that, perhaps past life regressions, perhaps emotional healing of any kind, counseling, journaling, facing up to where you've got these patterns of behavior that don't help you. All right. So the new moon is like a new seed and something to explore and reach out to in the world, or in terms of higher learning, travel, or education, or religion, belief systems, and philosophy of life. But at the same time, there's some work to do in your 12th house. Saturn asks us to work hard with discipline, and Neptune asks us to envision big picture, imaginative, expansive things, and to allow intuition and flow into our lives. So all the best for that healing work, Aries. And please like, comment, or subscribe if you like this video, and go to sunandmooncalendar.com to order your Aotearoa or your Australia edition, print or digital, of the calendar. So all the best. If you are Taurus, sun, moon, or rising, but especially Taurus rising, Taurus, that new moon in the sign of Sagittarius is happening in your 8th house. So there's a new start in something to do with shared resources with your partner, or large amounts of money like investments or taxes or inheritances, money that you can't get your hands on straight away, but it does have to do with you, but certainly shared funds with your partner. The 8th house can also be about our deep underlying psychological layers And that could be quite good with having Jupiter square to Chiron, encouraging us to work on some healing work, and Venus trying to Chiron, encouraging us to work on some healing work. Is Venus trine to Chiron? Oh, maybe I got that wrong. Venus actually might be in conjunct. I'm going to pause the video and have a look. I just paused. I checked. No. Venus is trine to Chiron. So that's encouraging of healing. Venus is your ruler, Taurus. Gosh, I can't even remember where I was up to. Okay. Oh, yes. Okay. So Saturn and Neptune are in your 11th house, because Pisces is your 11th house. That is a house of groups of friends or organizations of people that you belong to, and you're maybe seeking something like doing humanitarian projects together, or it could be just friendship groups. It's also a house of gains from your career. It's also a house of long-term goals. And Saturn in there, square to the new moon, is maybe showing up something where you need to work harder in one of these areas in order to help you with those new starts in your 8th house, or with your occult practices in the 8th house. All right. And Neptune there is asking you to dream big and fantastically, even like be imaginative, and think expansively, but also follow intuition and flow at the same time as being realistic with Saturn. So there could be some tension between that house of your friendship groups, your long-term goals, and your 8th house of your partner's resources. And any kind of tension of the square aspect, it just needs to be worked through. Okay, so all the best for that, Taurus. Please like, comment, or subscribe if you like this video, and go to sunandmooncalendar.com to order your Aotearoa or your Australia copy of the 2026 calendar. It's available in digital or print form. Okay. If you are Gemini, Sun, Moon, or Rising, but especially Gemini Rising, the new moon in the sign of Sagittarius is happening in your 7th house of partnerships, one-to-one partnerships. Anybody that you're working in a one-to-one relationship with, whether that is client, therapist, a working colleague that you do things on a one-to-one basis with, a friend that you spend a lot of time with one-to-one, or your significant other, your life partner, or a committed relationship. It can also be to do with negotiations and contracts when there are two parties involved. There's some kind of new start in those one-to-one relationships, a new seed being planted, and you can take some time out with a new moon, Friday the 19th, Saturday the 20th, and then the solstice on the 21st or 22nd, and even up to Christmas, just to see what bubbles up about your ideas for this new start that you want to make with your partnership, or it could be your partner themselves has a new start. At the same time, there's a challenge from your career house. Saturn and Neptune are in Pisces, which is the house of your career and your reputation in the world, and how you're known in the world, your status in the world, but especially your career, especially where you're building towards something where you're leaving a legacy. Saturn in that area asks us to work hard and be disciplined and realistic. Neptune in that area is asking us to think expansively, intuitively, allow intuition to come up in a flowing way, allow for adaptability. You're pretty good at that, Gemini. You're very adaptable. And Gemini, also, you're very good at logical thinking and rational thinking, left brain thinking. And Neptune and Saturn will love that. Saturn in your career area will love that, but Neptune will be asking you to access your right brain more. So maybe doing some meditation, or getting into a flow state while you're biking along or walking along, or doing some artwork. Okay, see what comes up about your career that's something to do with a partnership that you have in your life. There could be a block to work through, and we are just required with a square aspect to work through that block. So all the best for that new moon. Mostly it's about some nice new start in your 7th house. And Please like, comment or subscribe if you like this video, and go to sunandmooncalendar.com to order your copy of the 2026 Aotearoa or Australia Sun and Moon Calendar, available in digital or print form. If you are Cancer, Sun, Moon or Rising, the new moon in the sign of Sagittarius is happening in your 6th house. So there's some kind of new start, and you could take a few days to pause to consider what this could be, because straight after the new moon is the solstice, and then there's Christmas, and you can be thinking about, what is this new start in my work life? And Christmas, of course, is not so much time for thinking about your daily work. The 6th house is also about your daily routines for health and organization in your life. Around this time, those tend to go out the window, but it's a good time to be reflecting and thinking of what you want to start once you get back into things. There's a new seed to be planted there. So how organized are you in your life? How do you look after your body with your health routines and your hygiene routines and keeping things in order, but also daily work? And under that idea comes the thoughts, the aspect of the 6th house that is about how you give service in the world in practical ways. Okay, so that's where a new seed or a new thing can come out of this new moon. So listen to what bubbles up from within, and at the same time there's a challenge coming from your 9th house, where Saturn and Neptune are square to the new moon. Your 9th house is about travel, like long, far distance travel, okay, so overseas, or connections with other cultures, people from foreign lands, or just other cultures that help you to consider, okay, I thought that was normal, but these people do this in a different way, and now I see our way is just our way. It's not normal. What does that mean? The 9th house is really about exploring the meaning of life and seeking the meaning of life, whether that is through learning about other cultures, but also higher learning in general, philosophizing about life, and also where you follow or you have religious principles that you follow. Okay, so the 9th house is also the realm of religion. So there might be something happening with your house of giving service and your daily routines that is challenged by some new ideas or philosophies that come along, that, and you're thinking, oh, okay, I've been doing it this way. Is that the right way to be doing it? Or I've been giving this kind of service in the world, and now I'm questioning, is this the right kind of service to be giving? Is it really helping people? It might be helping these people, but not these people who have a different culture, as one example. Okay, Saturn asks us to work hard at things, to be realistic and disciplined and prepared to do things for the long term. Whereas Neptune, in that house of your travel and your finding the meaning of life, that is actually asking us to think expansively, to flow with different new ideas and be imaginative and a bit out there, and at the same time, allow intuition to bubble up from within. Okay, so try and get in a flow state, Cancer, which I think you'll be fine with. You can be really intuitive and flowing, and those planets, Saturn and Neptune, they are trine to your sign. So I think you'll do fine, but there could be a block with something to do with your 6th house, something to work through. Okay, so all the best, Cancer. Please like, comment or subscribe if you like this video, and go to sunandmooncalendar.com to order your Aotearoa or your Australia edition of the 2026 calendar, available in digital or print form. If you are Leo, Sun, Moon or Rising, but especially Leo Rising, the new moon in the sign of Sagittarius is happening in your 5th house. So this could bring a nice new start in the house of fun and play, romance and dating, your children. And that might be nice because quite often Christmas brings some nice time with the kids, and making more of an effort to do something with the kids where you're being playful and just enjoying yourself. But anyway, the seed that you plant could be for something more long term, and it's a good idea to wait it out through the new moon, through the solstice, and maybe till after Christmas before you start anything. It could also be in the fifth house, a new creative project that you feel really heartfelt about, very creative, and you're putting out something that comes from your soul. It's your soul's expression, and maybe there's a new seed of something starting there for you, Leo. Leo, you are all about being shining in a creative, expressive way, and the fifth house really suits you. It's Sagittarius, so you are enthusiastic, optimistic, and confident in this area. So I hope you enjoy that. However, there is a challenge coming from your 8th house, where the new moon is square to Saturn and Neptune in your house of your partner's resources, shared resources with some kind of partnership, whether this is a business partner or somebody you work with or spend time with on a one-to-one basis, and also long-term intimate relationship partners, committed partnerships. All right, so the resources that you guys share with each other, maybe there's your partner doesn't want to spend money on whatever your new creative project is, okay? Or it could be that an inheritance matter comes up and it's affecting things with your children, okay? These are just random examples, okay? Saturn in that house, I should mention also the 8th house, as well as shared resources with partners. The 8th house is also about occult practices and anything where we are exploring deep underlying layers, okay? And these can be about our deepest fears, they can be about our deep motivations. The 8th house can be also about deep intimacy with a partner, all right? So but also occult practices where you're delving into tarot, oracle cards, anything where you're doing divination and things like that. Okay, so some challenge from there, all right? And that could be like where it's Saturn involved. That Saturn asks us to work hard for the long term with discipline and a sense of duty, accepting the realistic restrictions that do exist. And Neptune there in that 8th house actually is asking us to almost do the opposite, to think expansively, creatively, take into account spiritual considerations. How do we connect to the universe? How are we compassionate? There could be some healing work to do, because the 8th house and those underlying psychological layers and twisted up issues inside ourselves, there could be something coming up with those, and healing work could be good, especially with Venus trying to Chiron and Jupiter square to Chiron. So if you have the opportunity to do some healing work, take it. And but yeah, with Neptune there, also trying to think intuitively, expansively, imaginatively, in creative ways, okay, as well as Saturn's discipline. So work through whatever the blocks are, but enjoy that new moon in your 8th house of your partner's resources, and the occult practices that you might enjoy delving into. So all the best, Leo. Please like, comment, or subscribe if you like this video, and order your Aotearoa or your Australia Sun and Moon calendar from sunandmooncalendar.com, and it's available in print or digital form. If you are Virgo, Sun, Moon, or Rising, the new moon in the sign of Sagittarius at 28 degrees Sagittarius is happening in your 4th house, Virgo. All right, this is your house of your home and your family of origin, your ancestry, even properties that you own or people that you live with. There's something new, a new seed to be planted, something to be developed, a new project. You might want to wait until after the new moon and after solstice and after Christmas before you get going on whatever that is, but I think you'll enjoy it. I know a couple of Virgo rising people, I think I know what this is going to involve for them. So one of them starting an Airbnb and is renovating like crazy at the moment, and she's hoping to get that done, finished after Christmas and make it available for customers. So I think that will be her new moon start in her 4th house of home, property, family. All right. There's some kind of challenge, though, coming from your 7th house of partnership. Maybe your partner's not able to help you with whatever this home is, or maybe this new start in your home, or maybe they're disagreeing with something. The 7th house is about one-to-one relationships, whether that is your committed marriage partner or a long-term committed relationship, or business partners, negotiations, contracts, anything where there's a one-to-one negotiation, or somebody that you spend time with on a one-to-one basis. So it could be that some sort of a contractual arrangement falls through, or there's some problems with it. It might not fall through. Saturn in that 7th house of partnership will ask you to be disciplined, hardworking. The partner themselves might be acting in a really sort of maybe bossy, serious, restrictive kind of way, but we need to listen to what they're saying and take it into account, because it could be that there's some real sensible, boring but sensible wisdom there. But at the same time, Neptune is there, and that's almost saying the opposite. Neptune is saying, be flowing, be expansive in your thinking, allow intuition. In fact, seek, explore, and notice your intuition. And where there's opportunities to do some healing with anything to do with partnership with your partner, or the ways you approach partnership, take the opportunity, Virgo. So whatever the block is from the partnership area, it can be worked through. It's just a matter of being prepared to face up to it and work through it. So all the best for that, Virgo. Please like, comment, or subscribe if you like this video, and go to sunandmooncalendar.com to order your Aotearoa or your Australia Sun and Moon calendar, available in digital or print form. If you are Libra, Sun, Moon, or Rising, but especially Libra Rising, the new moon in the sign of Sagittarius is happening in your 3rd house. This is a house of your neighborhood and your community, learning something, learning a new skill, going to workshops, local schools, maybe teaching or learning in local schools. Also your commute, how you get around your neighborhoods. Also trade and exchange, going to the markets, maybe a Christmas market or a New Year's market, and social media and small businesses, so much in the 3rd house. Some kind of new seed is being planted with the new moon, or a new idea could start to emerge, and you could take steps to develop it. You might want to wait till after the few days of the new moon, till after the solstice and after Christmas, but that might happen naturally that you wait till then anyway. At the same time as a new seed being planted, some new project or new idea, there's a challenge coming from your 6th house. Saturn and Neptune are in Pisces, which is your 6th house of how you give service in the world, the work that you do, your daily work for giving service in the world, and also the ways that you keep your life organized, keep your body organized with healthy cleansing practices and keeping things tidy and in order. Also to do with pets in the 6th house, so cat, dog, whatever pet you have. There could be some challenge coming from any of those areas. Maybe your health is preventing you from commuting to work by walking or biking. Maybe there's a problem with your pets, and you're going around the neighborhood trying to find a missing cat. It could be something like that. Saturn in that 6th house of how you give service in the world and your daily routines for health and pets is asking us to work hard with discipline for the long term. And at the same time, Neptune is almost doing the opposite, asking you to think expansively, creatively, think along spiritual lines, and invite intuition in, or notice what comes up from within. And perhaps if there's opportunities, especially with the sixth house, because it has to do with health, to seek healing opportunities, or perhaps look for ways to do some healing if you can, all right? Especially with Jupiter square to Chiron, which is about the wound, an inner wound, or a long-term illness or injury, and Venus trine to Chiron. So all the best for that, Libra. Please like, comment, or subscribe if you like this video, and go to sunandmooncalendar.com to order your 2026 calendar, Australia or Aotearoa version, and it's available in digital and print form. If you are Scorpio, sun, moon, or rising, but especially Scorpio rising, the new moon in the sign of Sagittarius is happening in your second house. So at 28 degrees of Sagittarius, your second house of your resources, your earnings, the money you have in your life, your possessions, and your sense of self-worth, how you value yourself, and even how you value yourself, and how that shows in terms of how you look after and what kinds of positions that you have. Okay, Scorpio. So some kind of new seed is being planted, or a new idea comes that you might develop, or a new project in that area that might be, even if it's part of a big longer term ongoing project, this might be a new phase in some kind of second house project. Okay, so that is nice. Always neat to have a new start in the second house of money and finances, and but also your sense of self-worth. All right, so I recommend that you just hold out a little bit while the new moon is on, because then there's solstice and then there's Christmas, and then you might want to plant that seed or make the first moves towards developing that idea. At the same time, there's some kind of challenge coming from your fifth house, where Saturn and Neptune are sitting at the moment and quite close to each other and square to this new moon. So the square means there's something to work through. The fifth house is about your children. It could be that your children, a child of yours in some way, is costing you money, and you need to look into whatever's going on. It also could be a romantic relationship. This is the house of dating and romance, or it could be the ways that you're doing romance with your partner. It also is a wonderful, the fifth house is so lovely. It's also the house of creative projects that come from your heart, that you feel absolute joy as you're doing them. I would say I love doing my YouTube stuff. I feel real joy when I'm doing it. It's kind of a fifth house thing. And for me, whatever is your fifth house thing that you feel joyful and really heartfelt and enthusiastic as you're doing it. And this can include entrepreneurial projects and hobbies, of course, but there's some challenge from there. Saturn is there asking you to be prepared to work hard, to face up to reality, be practical, and be prepared to work with discipline for the long term, to build something for the long term. And Neptune there is a little bit of an opposite energy. Neptune's asking you to access your intuition about what do you want for that fifth house, and to be flowing and adaptable, but also to think big, to think expansively and in creative ways, and to consider spiritual matters with it. And also, I would say with Neptune, it's always a good idea to consider healing and compassion, especially of deep psychological layers, because also we have Jupiter square to Chiron and Venus trine to Chiron and Scorpio. You understand about the deep layers. You're all about the deep psychological layers of life. So if there's an opportunity to do some healing work, or some work towards healing, to ask for guidance about healing, that could be a good thing to do. But mostly it's about a new seed being planted in your second house of your resources, your possessions. Something new could come along that you own or that's given to you. But it also could be about a sense of self-worth. So all the best, Scorpio. Please like, comment, or subscribe if you like this video, and go to sunandmooncalendar.com to order your Aotearoa or your Australia edition of the 2026 calendar. There we go, everyone. I hope that you all found something useful to help you guide through and navigate the energies that come up with the new moon. Try and take a few days of slowness and stillness because of the new moon and because of that solstice time. A good time for reflection and allowing things to come up from within before we get into whatever project and seed we're planting and developing over the next lunar month, and indeed over the next half of the year for the northern hemisphere, as the light comes down towards winter, and for us and other way around for us in the southern hemisphere, we're at the fullness of summer, and then we will be finishing things off and completing over the half year for some longer cycles. For the northern hemisphere, you're in that winter time, that slow time, that still time, the dark time. And then things are going to grow again, and you'll come into spring, both metaphorically as well as literally. All the best, everybody, and happy solstice.